So why don't I just launch right into it? We'll start with the knitting since that's the older stuff. It's older stuff, but what this has turned into for me is TV knitting. And so this is kind of my relaxing at the end of the day. I make these little mitts. Can you see those very well? And I put a picture of this recent batch, and I just put them out at the sale, and they go. They just, people buy them. I like this one in particular. I'm not sure I'll put that one. Isn't that kind of cool? So, you know, these, and I just make them all different patterns, whatever sock yarn. I went through a real sock knitting phase that left me with an abundance of sock yarn in my home. I did some weaving with it, but it's not great for weaving, but it's great for, you know, making these guys. And, oh, there's a pretty one too. I kind of like the way that one turned out. None of these are hand-dyed yarns. I've used those all up in the sock yarn. I don't have any more of those. So that's the knitting. This was a series I made when I was teaching myself how to piece. This was my learning piece. And what I did is I made a whole series of these, and they're actually, I call them my off-the-wall series, because they are pillow covers, obviously, but you can take the pillow out and you can use them as, and I've got them in use upstairs, as a matter of fact, this way, as a little mini wall hanging. And what I did is I made, the way I did that, do you see how I made these little pockets on the back so that they could be hung up? So I did these like as a triptych, and I sold one and I kept one. I did, you know, so that was a whole lot of fun because I was learning how to do that free motion stitching, which then led me to thread art. And I don't have any of my own thread art. I've only done that for gifts. People's dogs. My sister wanted a Roadrunner. And then on to the weaving. And when I was first learning to weave, of course I had to dye my own yarn first. And I just wanted to, you know, learn how to put yarn on the loom and learn how to weave it and do whatever I wanted to with it. So I just started making yardage. And I always thought I was going to do something with this. I don't know if there's a front or back to this. I'm going to find out here in a minute. Oh, there it is, yeah. And, you know, I just started experimenting with putting patches of yarn in and seeing what would happen. And then doing a little bit of embroidery, or in this case, well, no, this is like I chain this in with a crochet hook, but this is a pattern within the weave. I put some things back here that I didn't sell during the sale that kind of shows some of what I like to play around with. Different techniques. This is using a thread size yarn. I mean, literally the size of a sewing thread, 220, and some silk noil. That's the stripes that you see in there, although they're also just compacted. And then the gray, can you see the gray parts in there? That's stainless steel yarn. It was very odd to work with. I bought it for something to knit with. It's a Japanese yarn, and you can make like a moldable type. I made a cowl one time with it, which was really fun to look at, but not really much fun to work with. It was kind of a funky thing to knit with. But I really had fun with it in this scarf. Just, you know, scarves for people to wear. This is a real light, silky tencel, so it's kind of, you know, can be worn different times of the year. I did a whole series of these and just have this one left, so I may hang on to it because I really like it. I started playing around with pattern weaving, and that turned out to be really fun. I have a, I did this on my 8-shaft. I got an 8-shaft loom last year. Isn't that kind of a fun pattern? That crazy back and forth. Actually, I did a whole series of those. That's what I pulled off the loom just before the pandemic, too. Hand dyeing my own yarns has been a lot of fun. The weaving technique, you know, I could really nerd out on you. Nobody would really understand this, but it's, hang on a second, it's kind of getting twisted on me. It's a warp face weave, and that what you're seeing is all the warp threads and hardly any of the weft threads. And as a result, you have, it looks one way on one side and then it reverses itself on the opposite side. And so I did that technique, plus I did this thing where when I dyed my chains, I dyed, this is one chain and this is another chain. So I could put them on the loom in the order I want. It was basically putting the design on the loom before I wove it. I did a whole series like this of these tinsel shawls are so popular in the buffalo check. I did like the red and black and the gray and black and green and black, and I think I've got just one left. They're so soft. They feel like silk, but they're not silk. It's really nice, so they're really easy to care for. One of the things also that I do a lot of is tea towels. I can't believe how much people want. And I use these myself, and I understand why. Once you use hand-woven towels in your kitchen, it's hard to go back. First of all, just having something that doesn't look like a rag in your kitchen feels really nice, and they wash really well. Actually, here's two that have been heavily, heavily used. These are napkins, so they get washed all the time. And they wash well. This is one of my favorite designs I came up with, doing some hand dyed yarns and then this technique. They just work better. I don't know, they're real absorbent. Anyway, and they're a great way for me to try out different styles and designs, different forms of weaving, because it's, I can do 6 of them, a set of 6, and learn quite a bit. This is it's called Swedish mosquito weave, and I'm not sure why they call it mosquito weave other than the fact that it looks like a netting. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's kind of sheer and see-through. And a weaver gave me a huge amount of yarn, and she'd been weaving for many, many years. She's since passed away, and really miss Lenora. She taught me a lot. It's great to have these weavers that you can learn from, and I really value having this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I thought I was going to make curtains with it. It doesn't work anywhere in my home. Not yet. Maybe when I remodel, I'll remodel just for it. Let's see. So I think that's probably a pretty good picture of things I make.